Have you ever wondered about the origins of Japan's imperial family, the oldest continuous hereditary monarchy in the world? Get what you think you know, because we're about to dive into a story where gods walk among mortals. Sacred treasures hold the fate of an empire, and a single family line begins a legacy that stretches across millennia. This isn't just history. It's the epic myth that forged a nation. Let's travel back in time, way back, to an era shrouded in mist and legend. The story of Japan's first dynasty doesn't begin with a battle or a treaty. It starts in the heavens, with the sun goddess, Amaterasu Omikami. According to ancient texts like the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, Amaterasu was the most revered of all deities. She decided to send her grandson, Ninigi no Makoto, down to the terrestrial world to establish order. But she didn't send him empty-handed. She bestowed upon him 3 sacred treasures: the Yasakani no Magatama, a magnificent jewel representing benevolence; Yata no Kagami, a mirror symbolizing wisdom; and the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, a powerful sword representing valor. These 3 items, known as the Imperial regalia of Japan, became the divine symbols of the emperor's right to rule. They weren't just objects, they were the physical manifestation of a celestial mandate. Ninnaji descended to the peak of Mount Takachiho in Kyushu, the southernmost of Japan's main islands. From here, his lineage began to take root in the mortal world. Generations passed, and the divine bloodline continued, leading to a man named Komu Yamato Iwer Bakano Makoto. That's a mouthful, right? We know him by a much more famous name, Emperor Emu. According to tradition, Emu is the legendary first emperor of Japan. He realized that his ancestral lands in Kyushu were too remote to govern the entire archipelago. So, he embarked on a great eastern expedition, a long and perilous journey to find a more suitable center for his new kingdom. This wasn't a simple stroll. Emu and his forces faced fierce resistance from local clans and even encountered malevolent deities. One of the most famous tales from this journey involves a giant, 3-legged crow called Yatagarasu. Sent by the heavens, this divine guide led Emu's army through the treacherous mountains of the Kii Peninsula, allowing them to outmaneuver their enemies. This is why the 3-legged crow is still a powerful symbol in Japan today, even representing the national football team. After years of struggle and conquest, Emu finally reached the Yamato Plain, a fertile region in what is now Nara Prefecture. There, in the year 660 BC, on the 11th of February, he ascended the throne at Kashihara, establishing the Yamato dynasty and becoming the first emperor of Japan. This date is still celebrated today as National Foundation Day. Now let's hit pause for a second. As a historian, I have to be clear. The story of Emperor Emu and the early emperors is steeped in mythology. There's no concrete archaeological evidence to prove Emu was a real historical figure. Most scholars believe the early emperor list was compiled later to legitimize the rule of the Yamato court and create a long, unbroken lineage stretching back to the gods themselves. The first emperor widely accepted by historians as a real person is Emperor Kinmi, who reigned in the 6th century AD, over 1,000 years after Emu's supposed accession. But does that make the story less important? Absolutely not. This founding myth is the bedrock of Japanese identity and the imperial institution. It tells us what the ancient Japanese valued: divine authority, courage, wisdom, and the importance of unity under a single heaven-sent ruler. It's a cultural truth, even if it's not a literal one. So, who were the other key figures in this early period? After Emu, the chronicles list a series of emperors, many of whom lived to fantastical ages, some over 100 years old. These early rulers, from Emu to the 9th Emperor Kaika, are often called the 8 undocumented monarchs because their stories are almost entirely legendary. Things start to get a bit more grounded with the 10th Emperor Sujin, sometimes called the first emperor to be actually recorded. His reign was marked by a terrible plague. To appease the gods, Sujin separated the sacred mirror and sword from the palace and enshrined them elsewhere, establishing a tradition of dedicated priestesses from the imperial family to serve the deities. This shows a huge shift to move toward a more organized state religion, which we now know as Shinto. Then there's Emperor Suinin, his successor, whose story involves the origin of sumo wrestling. Legend says a match was held at his court to decide a territorial dispute, a far cry from the sport we know today. Another standout figure is Empress Jingu, a powerful regent who, according to legend, led an invasion of Korea while pregnant. Her son became Emperor Ojin, who was later deified as Hachiman, the god of war and the divine protector of Japan. This elevation of an emperor to a god shows the immense power and reverence the imperial line commanded. So, what can we really learn from these epic tales? First, they highlight the unique fusion of politics and religion in early Japan. The emperor wasn't just a king. He was a living god, a direct descendant of Amaterasu, and the chief priest of the nation. His primary role was to perform rituals that ensured good harvests, peace, and prosperity for his people. The legitimacy of his rule was divine, not just military. Second, these stories give us a glimpse into the values of ancient Japanese society. The three sacred treasures represent the ideal qualities of a ruler: courage, wisdom, and compassion. The journey of Imu emphasizes perseverance and destiny. These weren't just bedtime stories. They were a moral and political compass for the entire nation. And here's an interesting fact for you. The dynasty founded by Imu is known as the Yamato dynasty. And guess what? It's still here. The current emperor of Japan, Naruhito, is the 126th emperor in a line that officially traces its origins all the way back to Imu. This makes the Japanese imperial house the oldest continuous monarchy in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. While empires across the globe rose and fell, this one line, protected by its divine narrative and cultural significance, endured. The emperors weren't always the ones holding the real political power. For much of Japan's history, shoguns and regents ruled in the emperor's name. But the emperor always remained the ultimate source of legitimacy. No shogun ever dared to usurp the throne itself. Why? Because you can't overthrow a god. The founding myth was so powerful, so deeply woven into the fabric of society, that the imperial line was untouchable. Even today, the emperor's role is largely ceremonial. But he remains a powerful symbol of the state and the unity of the Japanese people. The rituals that Emperor Sujin established thousands of years ago are, in some form, still performed by the emperor today. The story of Japan's first dynasty is a masterful blend of myth, history, and culture. It's a narrative that was carefully crafted to unite a collection of clans into a single nation, under a ruler whose authority was absolute because it came from the heavens. Whether you see Emperor Imu as a historical figure or a mythological hero, his journey from the heavens to the Yamato Plain is the epic story of Japan's birth. It's a testament to the enduring power of a good story to shape the destiny of a nation for thousands of years. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey back to the age of gods and emperors. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the incredible stories that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which part of this legend surprised you the most. See you next time.